Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome. Um, my name is Sylvia. I'm a physicist turned metaphysicist, and I empower individuals and entrepreneurs to navigate their life with good health and clarity and strategy. Today we're going to talk about introduction to Feng Shui Form School. And here are the topics that I'm going to cover. First, I'm going to do a very brief Chinese metaphysics fundamentals overview. Then I'm going to go into the Feng Shui fundamentals. Then the main topic of giving you some insights into interior design considerations to enhance your life. And then at the end, I'm going to share how I can support you, my services, including 3 new services that I'm very excited about, and they're not on my website yet. Okay, so Chinese metaphysics, what is it? It's a philosophy that, just like physics, looks at how the world works, and more than physics, it looks how we fit in it. One of the fundamental sayings is, as above, so below. We are the microcosm that fit into the macrocosm. And the fundamentals aspect that cover everything in Chinese metaphysics is that the world works on a yin-yang dynamic, and examples of yin and yang are night and day, winter and summer, cold and hot, and they are continuously transforming. And they give rise to the 5 fundamental energies of wood, fire, earth, metal, and water that interact in very specific algorithms. On the outer circle, you can see the production circle, how these different energies support each other, and the inside arrows show how they control each other. And very relevant to today's talk is the fact that these energies have certain shapes associated with them. Like fire is triangular, earth is square, metal is round, water is wavy, and wood is cylindrical or rectangular. And there are many different approaches for understanding the world, and they generally are grouped into 5 different arts. First one is the art of energy cultivation, called also mountain, and it includes martial arts and Qigong. In red in the slide, I'm showing the arts that I'm dealing with, that I'm helping people with. Then the art of healing, which is Chinese medicine. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of that. And also Qigong, because all the movements in Qigong activate certain acupuncture points and acupuncture meridians. Then we have the art of fate, which is Chinese astrology, that has 2 main schools, Bazi and Zivei Doshu. I mainly focus on Bazi, even though I do bring in some Zivei Doshu insights now and then as needed. Then the next art is the art of divination, related to the I Ching, that you see there are 2 different spellings for it. It's also the Book of Changes. And then also a much less known art in the West, which is called Qimendunjia. And the difference between them is that the I Ching, which is related to the hexagrams, for those of you who know, so basically, what is divination? You have a dilemma in your life. You don't know how to proceed. You're asked for advice. And I Ching gives you very philosophical insights. They say that sometimes I Ching gives you what you really need, not necessarily what you ask for. Whereas Qimendunjia is very practical. It tells you exactly, it answers the question that you ask and tells you what kind of energy surrounds your actions, if you're going to be, it's going to be to your advantage to take that action or not. Anyway, I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. And then last and not least is the art of physiognomy, which is the art of reading shapes, where today's topic fits in, which is Feng Shui. And also it's in the same category, it goes like face reading. It's about reading shapes in the face, on the face, and then reading shapes on the palm, whereas Feng Shui is reading shapes around us. And then another very important and fundamental concept is that of the cosmic trinity. It's the heaven. We have the heaven luck, human luck, and earth luck, which are the 3 forces around us that shape and impact our life. the heaven lock has to do with the location and time of your birth, the family background, the upbringing, the talents that we have. The human luck has to do with the decisions that we make, which lead to actions. And that's, everybody knows that whatever you do will affect your life. And the ancients say that you can actually harness positive energy from the environment and raise your vibration and your energy, and then you'll make better decisions. So this environment has to do with your living and working environment, and that's where you can gather the arts, the energy from. And these are considered to be contributing equally to our lives. And of course, you cannot change anything about the time and location and family that you were born in. That's fixed, but the other two are changeable. Most of us have we can choose what we do, who we hang out with, what school we go to, and that will have a different effect. And the same way we can choose where to live, how we live, etc. So basically the fixed part is the heaven lock, which is related to our destiny, and then the human lock and the earth lock is changeable, and that's related to our free will. So this paints a very uplifting picture of we having control over 2/3 of our lives. And how do these different locks, which are the arts in Chinese metaphysics that support and give insights to these three levels of luck? So Chinese astrology gives you insights. It gives you insights in how your life is likely to be, and also gives you some insights that you can actually use when you make your decisions in order to make your life better. And then there are many arts, of course, devoted to helping you with decisions and getting clarity and taking the right actions. Chinese medicine, Qigong, I Ching, Qimendunjia. And then Feng Shui is the art that deals with the living and working environment, and it is our topic for the day. So today we'll focus on Feng Shui, and I'll give you some insights into how arranging the space around us can promote positive energy flow, and we can harness it from the environment. Feng Shui is very powerful, but it's not magic. It cannot create money and health out of thin air. What it can do for you is to set up your environment in such a way that it promotes clarity and boosts your energy, and you can make choices and spot opportunities when they come. So I'll start with the history. I'm talking about the classical Feng Shui. If some of you heard of the black hat type of Feng Shui, that's something that started in 1980 based on Tibetan Buddhism, and it's not the topic of this. It's very simplified. That became very popular in the 80s and 90s. Okay, so classical Feng Shui is very much linked to the I Ching, to the hexagram, to the Book of Changes. They include 64 hexagrams, and what is a hexagram is a pairing of two trigrams. And what is a trigram is a collection of three lines, some yin and some yang. And I'm not going to go into the details. Suffices to say that these hexagrams are used for divination and gives insight, usually by having some cards that have this hexagram on them, and also are intrinsically linked to our space, and to each hexagram is linked to a specific direction of about 5 degrees. So the trigrams were discovered, they say, around 5,000 years ago by Fuxi, who's a mythical figure, like the founder of the Chinese philosophy. And then about 3,000 years ago is when the hexagrams were put together. They were arranged. The trigrams were arranged in hexagrams, and from 8 trigrams you get 64 hexagrams. And that was done in the Western Zhou dynasty, and it was done by King Wen. And his son, the Duke of Zhou, is really credited with not the invention, but basically using its first urban planner. He used Feng Shui by looking at the mountains and the rivers and the environment combined with divination to select the site for the new capital. And it was not called Feng Shui back then. The term Feng Shui appears only around 300 AD in a book by Guo Pu in the Eastern Jin Dynasty, and the book is called The Classical Burial. And if you somehow see this name Kan Yu School, that is the name of Feng Shui before it became Feng Shui. And that had to do back there, heaven, earth, and environmental influences. And this is the first time when the term Feng Shui appears. Now, if we want to understand Feng Shui, we need to understand Qi. So what is Qi? Here are like three definitions. It's a dynamic force that animates and connects things, or it's the energy that circulates around us and penetrates the world we live in, or it's the life force which brings lives to all beings. So the main thing is that the Qi is intangible, right? And it's really hard to translate. Qi is basically the Chinese character that you see there. And there are different translations, generally translated energy, but there's much more than that, okay? But the main thing is that it is intangible. So how do we measure it? How do we know that's there? How do we know where is the positive Qi? How do we know where is the negative Qi? Well, you actually need a detector, right? So a very good analogy that I found is that think about the Wi-Fi signal. It's all around us. It's absorbed by some things. It's blocked by some other things. And same with Qi. It's all around us. We need a detector to know where it is. The detector in the case of Wi-Fi is our computer or our phones. So Feng Shui basically is the study of Qi flow, how it affects us, and where the positive is, and how we can harness it to improve and transform our lives in the directions that we want. And how does Qi flow? It starts in nature, on the exterior, outside, and then it comes in the house, and it reaches the occupants. This is a good time to talk about what does Feng Shui mean. Feng means wind, and Shui means water. And so basically, the idea of the Feng Shui is that the Qi is measuring Qi, right? So the Qi is carried by the wind down the mountain, and it stops when it meets water. And next, I'll give you the actual quote from the book that I mentioned, The Classical Burial by Guo Pu, that defined Feng Shui. So the first line, it says, Qi rides the wind and scatters, but is retained when encountering water. So that means that you, by looking at the mountains and all the landscape, you kind of figure out that where this Qi will accumulate. And then the second part is that Qi should gather and not scatter, should move within boundaries. So this is the idea that you need to protect it in order to be able to harness it. So there are two basic categories, classifications of the Feng Shui approaches. And they're based, how do we detect? Based on how we detect it. So based on the detector that we use, we have the talk that we're going to the topic that I'm talking about today, which is we're using our eyes. And the other school is by using the direction, the compass, and also a lot of formulas to calculate the direction of the good Qi. This is the detector, and the eyes is the form school we're talking today, and the other one is called the formula school. And you can think about this as the hardware and the software, right? So the software cannot operate in itself, by itself. It needs some hardware to support it. So similarly, the compass, the formula school needs the hardware school. So they're always intrinsically, the formula school needs the hardware school. So the effect is more like 70% of the environment is done. The effect of the environment comes from the form school and about 30% from the formula school. So that means that if your house is located in in a very good and ideal location, you almost, the inside is not that important. I mean, you of course it is important, but you get most of it. However, usually it's very difficult to find to change the outside, right? And that's why this was the primary use of the Feng Shui in the past, when it was a secret only available to the emperors, and it was used to find burial sites, to define burial sites, as they were really worshiping their ancestors and believed that the location and the energy in their burial site would directly influence their lives. Also, it was used to set the location for the palaces and for temples and divination places. So today we're talking about the form school. Now, there is another way to classify the different types of Feng Shui, because why we're doing Feng Shui? In order to change our environment and then benefit from it, right? So the other way of classifying is based on the time that we see results. Some things happen very fast, and short is defined by up to 1 year. This is the kind of Feng Shui that you use to enhance your strategic planning for the year. But for certain things, that's not good enough. Like if you want to buy a house, you don't want it to have good qi only for 1 year. You want a longer time frame. And that's what long is defined up to 20 years. And why 20 years is because the period of the energies repeating, the period of energies in Feng Shui is 20 years. And then beyond that, we have the evergreen Feng Shui, which lasts for generations. And that's partly what I was talking about when you want to set up the palace and etc. So, and best practical usage is really to mix the techniques. We always want to use some short term, because that's where we live in this time, and we want to see opportunities not in 5-10 years. We need the opportunities right now. So now next I'm going to show you how does the ideal location look like according to the ancient Chinese. And the form school is somewhere actually between long and evergreen. I mean, when we talk about the inside, you can think long. I mean, who's there in the house for more than 20 years in terms of furniture arrangement and things like that. But in general, the form school is evergreen. So that's why especially the outside location. Okay, so this is how an ideal location looks like. So it's the place, you want to have your house in the place where qi gathers, so you can be harnessed. So in a sense, you can think about where do you locate your Wi-Fi router so that it penetrates your whole house, right? And then regarding to the environment, you know that it flows down the mountain and lingers when it meets the water. And this is a very ancient picture of that. And this is in red. I'm showing the meridian spot is where you want to place your house. And you can see the red line going down the mountains. You see there are different mountains with different names: grand, ancestral, parent mountains, main mountain. So the qi comes down the mountain, pushed by the wind, and then it settles where you have the water, which is in front, right? And then you also need to protect this. And it's the important of how the shapes around it looks like. And I'm showing this in green, and you can see that there are some mountains surrounding it, also on the left and right. You can see some names there: White Tiger on the right, if you think that the house is facing us, and the Green Dragon on the left. We have the Red Phoenix in the front, and then the main mountain also has a name, and that's called Black Tortoise. And so how does this translate in the ideal landscape? Just to have it, it's called the armchair foundation. And here you have a picture. And basically, look at the back. You see it's very tall and imposing. So you want the largest, most imposing mountain, definitely raising terrain behind your house. And that's called the Black Tortoise. And then we have what's called the embrace, the sides that are basically gathering the energy, containing it. And if you look closely, you see that the left side is a little bit taller than the right. Again, we're looking out from the house, right? And those are called the green dragon and white tiger. And later on, when I go into details, you'll see why we want the green dragon to be slightly taller than the white tiger. And then in the front, you want a small mountain in the front. And you see here, it's not a little mountain, it's like a little hill there of the covered with grass, right? To retain the chi, to prevent it from escaping. And that's called red phoenix. And these four animals, so to speak, they're called the four celestial guardians. And they are at the basis of the Form Feng Shui school. And the nice thing about it is that there's no need for compass measurements. All you need to do is look at directions related to a reference, and you're looking at front, back, left, right. Very easy. Don't have to worry about magnetic interferences, especially in cities, etc., etc. And here you see, and the reference is, if you're looking out, it's looking out from the front door. If you want to look at what's happening at the landscape, the external form Feng Shui, and you look inside, wherever you are located. And you can see here, black tortoise is at the back, red phoenix in the front, green dragon at the left, white tiger at the right. Okay, so how do these forms affect us? So they can affect us positively or negatively. And here I have a table that shows. So if you look at if you're having, so how do you use this, right? If you have issues with not getting support from people and your vitality not being good, check out the back of your house, the black tortoise. Is the terrain sloping downwards? That means you have no support. So anyway, but that's it. And also it affects our confidence. It mostly affects men, also affects relationships. In terms of health, is the back, the back meaning the physical back, and then our memory and the urogenital system. The red phoenix, which is in the front, it's all about vision and opportunities. And it affects wealth, mostly women. And in terms of health is the face and the cardiovascular and the digestive system. The green dragon on the left is all about logic and execution power. So obviously that influences your work capacity and your wealth capability. If you perform well, then you're going to earn good money. And it's mostly affecting men. And in terms of health, it's about ears and urogenital system. And lastly, the white tiger, which is on the right, it's all about the intuition and creativity, about emotions. It mostly affects women. And it's about, on the health issue and the health side, it's about the mental state, the stress, and the cardiovascular and digestive system. So this is how you use this. If you have, and you feel that any of these areas are not so good for you, I mean, they're not going so well for you, then it's worth looking in the external environment around your house. And then today we're going to apply this to the internal environment, which is much easier to change. Okay, so I am giving here some examples of external negative forms that can negatively influence your house. And the negative forms are called sha chi. Sha means like negative. So these are examples. For instance, you have electrical poles or sharp corners. You see how the building across the balcony, is the edge of the building is exactly coming into that balcony. Also, or you have an elevated platform with very high speed train, very young, or a water tower. So these are in urban settings. Sometimes it happens that you have, simple electrical poles or in the lighting poles on the street that can be around you. And if it's very prominent in front of one window or something like that, it will affect the chi in that window. Okay, so next so a Feng Shui analysis starts on the external environment, about 70% contribution, but that's very hard to control except if you move, right? And then you can, if you want to buy a new house, then that is very important, and definitely you can do that. But if you live in your house and you have no intention of moving, there's not much that you can do with the external environment. I mean, not much. There are still some things, depending on what things are there, that are in your control. But anyway, and then it's the internal environment that is easy to adjust. And this is what we are where we'll focus today. So before any specific Feng Shui insights, the most important part is decluttering. If you have the bedroom that's in disarray and messy, that affects health and relationships. And if your work area, your office is messy, that affects your work performance. That's most important thing to do before you even think about Feng Shui, and that is clearly within your power and you see it, right? I'm sure that some of you are even bothered by it, because as I am, right, when I see clutter. Okay, so in general, the house has many different areas, but there are 5 that are more important for our well-being. And these are the main door, the bedroom, the kitchen, the office, and the living room. So the main door is where the chi comes in. That's where the opportunities come in. Very important to have the surroundings very good. The bedroom is all about your health. We spend a lot of time in our bedroom, and also about the relationships. The kitchen is about both our health and wealth. That's where the food is being cooked, and that the food produces chi that we consume, that contributes to our health and also gives us power so we can be productive at work. And at the same time, it's also considered like a wealth storage. So kind of our ability to save is linked to how good the environment of our kitchen is. And in the kitchen is the stove that matters. Now, these 3 are the traditional ways, the traditional important areas that Feng Shui has looked at. However, in this day and age, especially after the pandemic, with working from home, the home office is very important, and it has a similar effect like your work environment. It affects your wealth. And then the living room, especially in apartment buildings, you have a balcony attached to it. So the balcony is considered a second door. The door is considered a chi mouth. That's where the chi enters. And the balcony is like a second chi mouth. So that also carries wealth and relationships. So today, I don't have time to cover everything. I will just focus on the first 3. Okay, so now let's start with the main door. First, let's see what's happening in front of the main door. That's important. We want a spacious and wide space outside. If you remember, in front of the house is where the chi comes in. It's the red phoenix, and it's also called the bright hall, the part in front of the house, and that has to do with vision and opportunities. So this is what you see here, and I'm not sure if you see it very well, but if you look through, you can see that there's a tiny little hill covered with grass there. That's kind of like the little, like kind of providing that nice space in front of the main door where chi can accumulate. And now I'll give you an example of external sha chi. So that's external negative form. And that is something, in this case, I'm showing 3, that is within the width of the door, right? If the 3 is to the side, it doesn't matter. But whether you have a pole or a tree or anything, that's considered negative external form, and leads to decreased wealth opportunities. Opportunities don't come in, basically, affect your health, your drive, your ambition, your execution power, and the relationship, the outside external relationship, like at work or with clients if you have your own business. Now, the same thing, we can take the main door and we're looking in, and we can have internal sha chi. I'm showing here 2 pictures. One with the half of a wall, basically the end of the wall, very similar to how the tree was blocking when you look outside, that end of the wall, or a pillar in the middle also blocks the chi. And also, the other thing that I would say is, so how does this affect? Basically, internally, it affects more internal matters like saving ability and financial losses on the financial side, and then health bad health effects. And then, of course, the relationship is based on family. The stress is including you have emotional issues and family arguments. And one thing that I think a lot of people have maybe messy entry holes where you have shoes that are all over the place and, the keys and the different things. So be mindful of that and try to keep that very nice and organized and not blocking anything. You want, similarly, how you want a nice space in front of the door, you want when you walk in the house to see a nice space. And then I'm showing another example. There's nothing blocking the front, the door as we come in. But the problem is that the qi comes in and immediately goes through the back if you have like a big window or a sliding door there, or a regular door. And this is actually easy to fix. In most cases, you just need something to block it. So you can put like a cabinet or something like that. So you want the qi not to come in and leave right away. You want it to circulate around your house so you can benefit from it. And if you have this kind of formation, that means that opportunities easy come and easy go. They come and they go right away. They don't stop to so you can nourish it. You can harness it. Okay, so that's about the main door. And now we're moving to the bedroom, affecting especially our health and the relationship with our partner. So first I'm going to talk about the shape of the room. What we want is ideally, it's more like a square shape, which is square is the shape of earth, which is the element of stability, and sleep is a yin activity. So you really want grounding and stability. You want to have good quality sleep because that directly influences your health and also your capacity of execution, your energy level, right? So it affects everything. Now, the worst kind of a shape of a room is a triangular shape. I don't think they're very common, but there are. I've seen them. And it's bad for two different reasons. On the one hand, triangle represents fire, which is the most yang energy of all. So that's clearly a yin-yang imbalance and conflict. So you most likely won't sleep well. And then second, you see those two corners, basically the qi is stagnant in those corners. So you really don't, if you have a room like this, don't sleep in it for a long time. It's okay to keep it as a guest bedroom because anything having to do with Feng Shui takes some time to actually manifest and have its effect. So if you just sleep, 2-3 days or a week or a couple of weeks, that's not going to affect you. It's if you sleep, regularly there. Now, the other shapes that are very common are like T-shaped rooms, which are also not very good because qi does not circulate well. And in addition, you have the sharp corners. You see how the sharp corners are pointing directly to the bed. And so that can cause depending on exactly where those sharp corners are, will cause health problems on the area of the body where those sharp corners meet or where they hit. So if it hits like your legs, you may have some leg problems. If it hits your abdomen, you'll have some digestive issues, and so on and so forth. And then another bedroom shape that is not very good is an L shape. And this is very common, especially when you have like the master bathroom inside the master bedroom. And it's, again, you have the problem with the sharp corner. And then you also have a qi imbalance because that corner, usually when we assess a room, we are looking at the rectangular enclosure and then we assess if there's things that are missing. That means there's a very much imbalance. So for this room, where the bathroom is, that would be a missing corner, and that leads to an imbalance of qi, which is not conducive to good sleep and to good life in general. Okay, so this is just the bedroom shape, the big picture vision. Now, in the bedroom, the most important part is the location of the bed. So here, for the location of the bed, we apply the black tortoise, the four celestial animals concept. Black tortoise, you want something solid, so you always want to have your the back of the bed, the headboard against a solid wall, and then you have the white tiger on the rest, and the point of reference is you laying in bed, right? And then in front of it you have the red phoenix. So this is an example of not a good position of the bed. It's actually called the coffin position. You see that your feet are exactly directed towards the door, so that's as if you're taking a coffin out, right? So the problem with that is that the chi coming from the door directly clashes you, and in addition, most likely the edges of the door cause that kind of a obstruction, right? Sharp edges we don't like. So this is most likely leading to feet and reproductive organ issues. Then I had mentioned before how important it is to have a solid backing of your bed. So having the window at black tortoise, right? The window is again very yang. The bed and the sleeping is a yin activity. So that leads to an yin and yang imbalance. And also it makes you even more susceptible to external shachi. If it happens that outside that window you have shachi, that's where that matters. Like if the pole or the bed form is somewhere where you have a solid wall, you're protected. So one thing that you can do is you can put a thick curtain in front of the window. So basically transform it from a window to something opaque. And the problem with that is that you're not going to get help, you're not going to get support in your life. So now we're going to the door at the Green Dragon. Again, you have the chi door is yang, the bed and the sleeping is yin. You have chi coming in from the right side, from the Green Dragon side, and which is from the left side, and that will affect what the left side affects, which is the logic, the decision making, the execution power will increase stress and will especially affect males. So you can refer back to the table and then you see how it's being applied. Now the opposite, if you have a door on the right, which is the white tiger, again, the right and left are reference to you lying in bed. You're going to have increased emotional and mental issues, more aggressivity, and it's affecting especially the women. So now we're going on to the kitchen. And first I'm going to give you what's an ideal kitchen and what is the worst kitchen. So the ideal, what we want is really to have, so the most important thing in the kitchen is really the stove. That's where fire is produced. That's where the food is produced. If you don't cook at home at all, you just go out, then it's less important, but it's still relevant, but you're affected less. So why is there a problem with the stove? Because in the kitchen, in the West at least, we always have water elements in there. Stove is fire, and you have the sink and the refrigerator and the dishwasher that are all water elements. So this induces what's called a fire-water clash, which is one of the most dramatic clashes in the five-element interaction. And as long as if your kitchen is large and the stove and the sink are far away from each other, and by far that means like more than 2 feet, then you're okay. But in many cases, that's not the case. Now, the worst case that happens in some high rises on some modern buildings is when you have the kitchen and the stove exactly in the middle of the house. The middle of the house is called the heavenly heart, and this impacts your health very much. It's almost like something is stabbing, it's burning your heart, and you want to keep that center kind of quiet. That affects everything else in the house. And this is not the same. The same is true if you have, let's say, a fireplace there and you have a chimney. Again, it becomes very active. It disturbs the center of the house. It's as if you have like a knife like piercing your heart. And it's very little things that you can do in this kind of a situation except moving. And except if your external environment is absolutely fantastic, then you have much less to worry about. Okay, so I mentioned that the position of the stove is the most important in the kitchen. And here is, and I mentioned the fire-water clash. What can you do? And so what happens when you have the kitchen and the sink very close to each other? You have a lot of arguments in the family or in disharmony in general. And what can you do? What you can do is put a plant in between the sink and the stove, because the plant is a wood element, and that basically mitigates the war between the water and the fire, because it's friend with both. It is nourished by the water, so takes the energy of the water and makes it grow, and then it fuels the fire. And then another configuration that is quite common, I think, is that having actually an island. So if you have an island just by itself, you have to worry about the sharp corners that it introduces and the interaction with the with a door. But if it doesn't have any sink or stove on it, then, and you have, let's say that the sink is on one side and the stove is on the other side, it acts as a wonderful mitigator for that. But as you see here in the picture, this has a stove in the island, and that is really a very bad choice, because first of all, the stove doesn't have any kind of backing. So that's the black tortoise, means you're not going to have support, you're not going to get help, you're going to be all alone, you're going to be stressed, and especially the male in the family is affected. So also the sharp corners that I already mentioned. Okay, so these are the three main areas that we're going to talk about, that I wanted to talk about and give you some insights. And in summary, I hope that you saw that in what way this has been documented for thousands of years, that our environment can affect our health, finances, and relationships. And Feng Shui can be a powerful ally, and it studies the flow of qi with the goal of modifying the environment so that positive qi is harnessed. And different areas of your house affect people in specific ways. So the main door is very important. It affects your drive, your ambition, your health, your finances, the relationship, basically everything. Also, I should mention the main door. Make sure that it looks really nice, that it doesn't have scratches or paint peeling or anything like that. Depending on, now going back to the Compass School, depending on what area that door is, it's going to have different effects on your life. And then the bedroom is about health and relationships. The kitchen, especially the stove, is about health and savings. The home office, drive, attention, ambition, and finances. And the living room, about relationships and finances. And Feng Shui can advise to changes so that you increase the quality of qi. And so just a couple of details for the two areas that I didn't talk about, the home office and the living room, where you can take the same concepts of the four celestial guardians, and the reference point for the home office is where you sit, is your chair. So for instance, right now, I'm talking to you, I'm working at my desk. So this is my reference point. And you can see I have solid backing from my chair, and also solid backing from the cabinets behind me. And then in the living room, the reference point is the longest couch, if you have more than one couch. If not, it's the one couch that you have. And again, you want to have the couch with having a good backing, and then arrange the furniture in such a way that it satisfies the other requirements. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you about my services. And so first, I have, some of you are already my clients. I'm providing a personalized strategic guide for every year that includes insights from Batzi, from Feng Shui, and Chimen Dunja. And this is all a program that, and it's I give a written document that's probably 18 or 20 pages. And it's on my website. And the new service that I'm just announcing right now is that I'm starting Feng Shui consultations based on external and internal forms. Of course, depending on the complexity, you cannot just give a price, but the minimum is $500. It involves give me information about your who is living in the house and the layout, and then we'll use Zoom for me to see the outside of your house and the inside of your house, and take a little video. Then I'll do the analysis, and then we'll have a second Zoom meeting to assess, because I'm sure I'm going to have questions, and then finally I'm making the recommendation. And it's not on the website yet. You can set up a free Zoom call if you're interested, or email me. And then another new service is activation and protocol dates for attracting wealth. So for three things: attracting wealth, attracting support and help from other people, and for improving of relationship. It's a combination of your Batsu and this Chimendunja tool. And it's also for $200, and you need to contact me directly for that. It's not on the website yet. And then the third new service is the decision support, or Chimendunja forecast. And the kind of questions that you can find that I can help you with are, if you have a dilemma, right? Oh, should I do A or should I do B? And what is the outcome if I proceed to do blah, blah, blah? And what is blocking me from achieving whatever is of interest? What is this person's intention? And I can give you, what I'm sharing with you is not only like oh, yes or no, yeah, do A, but I'm also telling you what is involved, what are the energies, and what, if it's good for you, if it's not good for you, in what way is maybe not good for you. Maybe it takes a lot of effort and you can do it, or maybe not. Anyway, and contact me if you're interested. And then on the other side, improving health, which is the other part of my services, is I have a Qigong series that it's starting this next week on March 19th. And it's about the spring equinox, around the spring equinox. And it's part of a year-long program where we work with the year energy to stabilize, harmonize, calms the body, and supports the nervous system, and get regulated and get clarity. And it's the next sessions are around solstice, around fall, then fall equinox, and then winter solstice, and then the other optional add-ons to that is I also do personalized Qigong, which is a one-time session where a one-time Zoom meeting where I give you exercises specifically tailored to your your health problems that you have, and also taking insights from your Chinese astrology chart. And then taking that one step further is a 6-month Qigong coaching program, which includes specific date selection and directions for the practice, specific for you, and also tweaking the practice according to the evolution of the energy during those 6 months. And then lightly, these are all things that I'm teaching you, and then you do on your own. And then the other side of the coin is that I also do Qigong healing. I'm using light elixir Qigong, which is taught by Master Robert Peng. And so I can also do that remotely. And with that, everything, these are all current services. They're on my services tab. And thank you for being here. And before we go to questions, please follow me on social media. Common Element 13 is my handle. And thank you very much. And I'm going to stop sharing. And please raise your hand if you want to unmute and ask questions, or put the questions in the chat. Let's see. Okay, I have a thoughtful advice about placement, art, and mirrors on walls. Yes, so it depends. Let's talk about the mirror first. You do not want to have the mirror placed directly in front of your bed. Actually, not having a mirror in the bedroom is much better, but especially you don't want to have it facing the bed. And the idea is that the mirror is reflecting a lot of stuff, so that's also very yang. So it creates a yin yang imbalance in the room. And if you take it more than that, if you take into cosmology and more deeper philosophical insights, Taoist says that at night your soul is kind of going and doing astral, walks and so on and so forth. And if it comes back and it sees a mirror, is getting confused and doesn't know where to go back. But that's, anyway, just from the yin yang imbalance, it's not advised to have a mirror. There are different places where mirrors are more, but it depends. That's all having to do with the compass school, the different specific directions where, so mirror is also considered metal. So that's where metal would go. The mirror is good, but again, it's a little bit tricky. And art, just very important is to be very, to like your environment and really enjoy what you're looking at. So that's the overall thing. Okay. What about the trapezoidal land? Is it good? Oh, very interesting. I'm glad you asked the trapezoidal land. It depends how it is. The land itself can trap the chi and you want it. So it depends in which direction it is, whether it's letting the chi out or you want. So trapezoid land, you really want the wide part of the trapezoid to be at the back, because you want, as the chi comes in, you want it to be trapped in the back. You want the back tortoise to be good, and to be, basically you want to have the chi contained around your house. If the trapezoid is open, then there's nothing to hold it in. Okay. Other questions? Again, I'll put it in the chat or unmute yourself. Okay. Any other questions? Well, you can always contact me if some other things come to mind, and you're going to get the replay. And yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Wait another minute or two. I was right on time. Glad to see that. Never know. I tend to talk a lot, so. Okay, great. Okay, any other questions? Well, if not, I will first stop the recording and then I will end the meeting.